Have you wanted to learn the ATP forehand or backhand and struggle with that? Well, stay tuned. I'll share with you some of my top favorite tips for working on the modern ATP ground strokes. Hi, it's Chris Lewit, top American junior coach and coach to many #1 juniors in the United States. Let's dive into my favorite drills, my all-time favorite drills to work on the ATP forehand and the ATP backhand. Hey guys, I'm here with my top student, Sophia, and she's the best. She's gonna help us demonstrate some of these drills. We're gonna do a couple backhand drills, a couple forehand drills, working on the modern ATP style, and there's different designations of what makes the ATP style, but in this exercise, I call it no soup, hook loop, or hook loop, don't stir the soup. You probably think that's funny. But basically, we wanna try to get the racket work going up and then hooking down, getting this play in the wrist. So you see my wrist go down like this, and the technical term for that is ulnar deviation. So the wrists are angling down, ulnar deviation. And the trick is to make it fluid, like the wrist, there's gonna be this ulnar deviation, the racket head's gonna drop below the ball, and it's gonna hook straight down rather than making soup or making a big soupy loop, like a big bubble loop. Sometimes I call it a bubble loop. So it looks like you're kind of stirring soup. It's kind of funny imagery. You just want to get this hook loop, and I stole that hook loop term from Dr. Brian Gordon, who's a well-known biomechanist, and he calls that a hook loop. It's kind of one of the keys to the next gen or modern ATP backhand. So you've been doing great. We've been practicing this. I'll show you what it looks like. You want to try some? See if you can hook it down rather than turning it across. All right, let's try. Yeah, that was awesome. Do it in slow motion so everyone can see. So do that again, that was great. So you get your unit turn, the racket comes back, and you get into this zone here, and here's where that hook loop happens, and that's the ulnar deviation, the wrists go down. And the trick is to make it fluid, so when people try to do it, if they're not careful, it looks robotic and very stiff. So the key is to make like a fluid little circle. You can tell yourself little circle. What you don't want is to bring the hands around your hips or around the back of your body here. I just call that stirring the soup. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, and the loop becomes quite large. Ready? So you go out, back. Great. Try to work a nice top spin. We'll do a bunch of them. Nice, a little more spin. I always encourage the kids to get spin, like that one was a little flat, because if they get spin, that forces them to flip the racket down, and you want that racket to flip over with the ulnar deviation of the wrist. So the racket has got to drop down. The more topspin you want to get, the more this would drop. The more this would drop to get extra topspin. So I always tell the player, give me topspin, give me topspin. If you're working on this at home, always try to do your like backswing work with topspin, combined topspin. That was a little flat. Ready? I think we need to put that high string up, Sophia. We have a high string that we use for topspin, because right now you definitely would not be going over that high string. Better. Let the wrist move. Get flicky with it. It's okay to flick your wrist a little bit. A lot of the movement of the wrist will be passive, but sometimes when you're learning, you might do some active wrist circles, little wrist flicks, and that helps you get the feeling of loosening up the wrist. At the high level, many times a lot of the wrist movement's passive. It's not actual muscular contraction. Yes, but it sounds a little flat. I want extra spin. Better. I want even more spinny sound. Come on. No? Hit straight through it. Better. Okay, nice. Show, just for people watching, show the bigger loop. Do like the one you used to, because Sophia used to have a bigger loop. Yeah, kind of like that. And so a lot of kids and a lot of adults have that type of loop. There's nothing terrible about it. You can still hit the ball very well that way, but it's not as optimized. It's not as compact, doesn't save as much time as more of the hook loop. So that's why I like to work on the hook loop if I can get it. And if I can't get it, I'll settle for a little bit of making soup if I have to. See if you can get that extreme drop. Okay, that was nice. That was even better. Very nice. More flicking up. Don't tighten the wrist too much. Keep the wrist relaxed and go. Yeah, that had a nice sound. You can hear the pitch of the sound when you scrape the ball. It has a nice high pitch. Make sure you get a good shoulder turn, good turn of the shoulders. Dip it down more, let the wrist drop more. Yes, that was better. How'd you do that? You tried to put it a little more? That was better. It's like a little circle, you know? Because what happens with most players and most people, they go back and maybe they try to be compact, but the wrists stay kind of locked and they don't get a lot of whip or acceleration. So the idea is to get back in here, hook loop, this drops under, and then you can flick up from there, get a nice topspin on the ball. That's really key to the modern backhand, is to have this movement in the wrist rather than the wrist really locked. All right, so this is a second drill that I love to do with players working on their ATP modern backhand. And this one, I mentioned it in other videos, but I wanted to go explain it again. I wanted to have Sophia try it. It's basically like bouncing a basketball. So you're trying to get these wrists to loosen, like you see the movement in my wrists here, rather than being locked. So one of my favorite things is to kind of pretend like you're bouncing a basketball here, like you're dribbling a basketball. And as you're bringing the racket back, it looks kind of crazy, but you do these little chopping actions, or like your dribbling actions, boom, 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 boom. And it really helps to get that feeling of the gravity drop. And then what you want to do is when you're doing this bouncing the basketball thing, when you do the last one, you stay relaxed, let your wrist move. Yeah, stay relaxed, and then at the last drop, you use your hips. So the last one is like drop and synchronize the hips with the drop. Wrist, 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 loose, boom. You can get your legs into it. Like, boom, bounce the ball, bounce the ball, bounce the ball, hips, you know. Bounce the ball, bounce the ball, bounce the ball, legs, hips. And if you can play around with that, it'll really help you. You may get a breakthrough in a backhand that's kind of stiff. And most people they do like this kind of stuff, and they're just too locked here. You got to try to figure out a way to break through the locked feeling, or the locked wrist. All right, you want to try that? All right, let's see the bounce. You never played basketball, did you? Yeah, and the last one, you go hip. You know, you swing, but don't bring it back too far. Ready, ready, ready. Yeah, you did it, and then you went around that way. But you want to go like bouncy, 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 hips, and keep everything compact, and everything's in this space on the left side of your body. That typifies the ATP backhand. One of the typologies is, you know, this backswing in the space on the left side of your body. All of the racket work has to take place on the left side of the body. That's one of the compact nature of the ATP backhand, the modern backhand. That was cool. Yeah, you can just kind of, whoa, I'm bad. You can just kind of let it bounce along. Ready, bounce, bounce, bounce. Nice, that was good. The goal is to learn to loosen, and even loosen up the structures in the elbow here, the joint structures here, even the shoulders, just boom, boom, boom. Cool, good. That's how you can kind of break up locked wrists. Here's another cool backhand drill, as we're just talking about tips to try to help the modern backhand, the ATP style backhand, is make a straight line and then a small circle. Don't make the mistake of making a big circle to try to loosen up the wrist. That's I think a big mistake. So if you're thinking, oh, I got to make topspin, and a lot of times coaches or players will say or think, oh, I got to make a loop. So don't make this bubble loop like this, and don't make a bubble loop around your body. Think about straight line, little circle. Straight line, little circle. This is another way to sort of learn the proper unit turn and take back. Racket head typically slightly above the hands. There's different ways you can do it here. You know, pros do a different way, but basically more or less straight line, little circle. So let's try that. Don't make the mistake of that, or that, or whatever, and don't bring it straight back and straight through. That's the locked one. Don't go straight back and straight through. When you get back to this point, there's some magic's got to happen. There's got to be play in the wrist. There has to be ulnar deviation. There has to be lag. So we're trying to get the lag and the ulnar deviation, and then firing the hips at just the right time. It's tricky. It's not easy to get. You got to practice it. All right, want to try, Sophia? So we'll do straight line and then the loop. Straight back and then a little circle, little tiny loop. Okay, straight back, little circle. But it shouldn't look straight back and then forward. It should look straight back and then a squiggle. You know, like straight back and then a squiggle. I don't know, you know what a squiggle is? Kind of like, whoosh. It shouldn't be straight back. That's the mistake. That's what people have trouble with. And the pros make that squiggle, you can't even see it. You could do a better squiggle. I saw a better squiggle before. Yeah, you got to make the squiggle. And the squiggle should be fast. It's like straight, look, slow, squiggle, slow, straight line, little circle, quick little circle. Ready? All right, that's good. Try the last one. Straight line back, squiggle it. Good, work that spin. Always work in topspin, because the topspin, if you think in topspin, that's going to help you drop that racket head and get that flip. Yes, that was a very good one. That was, and you could hear it had a nice sound to it. Okay, nice job. Good job. Great. All right, I have one more for you guys. That makes the number 4. And this one is a really important one that I get a lot of queries. A lot of people leave comments and ask me, how do I fix my spacing? They know it's an issue. Everybody seems to ask me, I get asked this question a lot. How do I get my spacing better, farther away? How do I get farther away from them? How do I train my eyes and my mind to do that? So here's a really good drill for that. You can do all these drills with a ball machine, or a friend can toss, or you can even self-toss. And basically, you're just going to train your eyes and mind to have good space. And good space for me means that you're going to see the left arm almost fully extended here. You're not going to have two bent arms here. You're going to make sure that you have one arm, at least one arm, if not both arms. Usually the right arm's a little bent. It's possible to have both arms straight, but at least this left arm, we want it to get it pretty much straight, as close to straight as we can get. So that is another very common element in the modern ATP backhand, is having the left arm straighter. Dr. Brian Gordon says 155 degrees or more in extension here. So I'll show you the exercise. It's really cool. And what you do is, the ball's coming in softly, and in the beginning you just move around, you make your footwork and adjustments, and you just tap it. You don't even hit it hard. You just tap it. Little taparoo. Want to try it? You don't even follow through. Don't hit it hard. Just work on the space. And even before that, you can go like this. All right, go, do it, do it. Here it comes. And you can just guide the player or yourself. You need someone to hold this for you, but you can stop moving, stop squiggling around. Look, do it right there. And you just want them to get the feeling of how much is this measurement? What is the actual distance that I got to do here? So this is what we want. If you see that, it's probably going to be back here a little bit. All right, so I'm going to toss you the ball slowly. I'm close to you, and you can try to just tap it. Yeah, you can tap a little harder, but basically we're working on there. Look how far away that is. And what you don't want is for the ball to come in, and then you have to see how your elbows got bent like that. So a lot of female players and some lower level male players, you almost never see pro men do that, but you see a lot of pro women, high level female players who still hit with the double arms bent like this, and it's just not as optimal. It's more optimal for power and spin to have this configuration with the left arm straighter like all the guys do. Ready? Okay, but try not to be stiff, because remember, we're always working. Whenever you're working on the two-handed modern ATP backhand, you're trying to get away from stiffness. You don't want that lock configuration. That's the old style two-hander. That's the very traditional two-hander. Traditional two-hander, like a Jimmy Connors, or you go back in the day and classic players from the 70s and 80s, like Chris Lewit. When the two-hander was first became popular, everyone used to have a one-hander. So when players came on the scene doing the two-hander, that was pretty rare, actually, not that long ago. But everybody did it kind of stiff, or they did kind of like a Borg. Borg had a one-handed backhand, and he just kept the other hand on for support. So it's almost like a one-hander with the left arm. Those were the original style of two-handers. So now, you've got to be like whippy when you do it. Relax, relax, relax. Nice, that's good. Stay relaxed, don't get stiff out there, because you want to be out there and you don't want to be stiff. This is the hardest thing, I think, for most people. Maybe they get out there, so coach said I got to keep my arms straight. I got to get straight. And then what happens? The next thing you know, all these joints are locked up and you got a tight robotic backhand. Ready? Here we go. Just try to be out there. Yeah, and start to do it more real now. This would be the next stage. You just make sure you're not corrupting that space, and then just try to flick it up over the net. You don't have to hit it too hard. That was amazing. I don't know if you guys saw that one. I'll have to put that in slow motion. That was an amazing backhand with a lot of topspin. And I'm pretty sure, Sophia, you were out there with a nice straight arm configuration. So then what you do is you take this and you maybe start doing some light rallying, like with the coach or with a friend or a partner. You just start rallying and you just work on the same thing, the measurement, measuring the ball and receiving the ball so your arm can do that. And then eventually you get to the point where you can play points with that same spacing. Okay, hey, we're back. So we have a number 5 drill on the forehand side. We flipped over to the forehand side now, and we're going to try to get that flip in the ATP modern forehand. It's really hard to get lag. Everybody struggles with lag, and you have to be very relaxed in your wrist to let lag happen. So there's got to be lag, and the racket has to flip, which basically means the racket has to go from vertical position to a depressed position here. So it's got to go under, and that's why you emphasize topspin. So let's do the basketball drill, which I just love. It's just so good. Bouncy, bouncy. If you can see where my racket is, I keep my racket, look where it goes. My racket's always on the right side on 5 to 6 p.m. If Sophia's at 6 p.m., anytime you're practicing any of these ATP strokes, you're trying to keep the racket in that confined space of 5 to 6 p.m. more or less. Everybody's a little bit different. And then, by the way, if your swings or your player's swings, if they drift a little to 6 p.m. or 6:30 and they end up like that, it's not the end of the world, because there are still many players on tour, female players especially, who are making millions of dollars with backswings that are a little bit across the plane there. For example, we just saw, who won the Australian this year? Do you remember? Yeah, Madison Keys just won the Australian. She's got quite a large size loop on her forehand. So there's an example of, you can be a tremendous player with a great forehand, and you can have kind of a large loop. It does happen. I just like to optimize it whenever I can. So especially I have let's say I have a young student like Sophia, a young talented kid. Try to be bouncy, 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 and try to keep everything in the 5 to 6 o'clock area here. See if you can do it. So it's not like a normal loop. It's just like bouncy, bouncy. Awesome. That's really good. So you're breaking up this idea again. It looks cool to make a nice loop here, but it's dangerous to loop, because the momentum of the loop can take your racket across into bubblicious area, in the bubble loop area over back there. So be careful if you're working on loop. Be careful. I'll show you one other quick drill after this, and we can talk about how to do it with a loop. Let's not do it with a loop. Let's do it with a bouncy. Bounce the basketball. Good. All right, come on, no net. Lift that thing up. Good. So when you come out of it, don't go bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Big loop. Don't do that. It's bouncy, bouncy, and it's just you're skipping a rock. Bouncy, bouncy, skip the rock. Bouncy, bouncy, bang. And you try to time the hips. Bouncy, 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 time the hips. Bouncy, 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 legs, hips. At the last bouncy, as the racket's going down, boom, right? It's tricky to get the timing right. And don't do that smooth, big bubble loop. Nice try. You look pretty good. Boom, boom, boom. Break it up. Up and down, up and down. Nice, good job. I think the backswing looks pretty good. We'll have to check that on slow-mo, but I think the backswing looked very modern ATP. Ooh, nice. I like that one. Okay, let's do one more tip. Tip number 6 for the modern ATP forehand. We're on the forehand side now. And if you want to try to incorporate that loop here, you can do that. You know, you can loop it up and then just make sure the loop doesn't carry. There's a danger that the loop's going to carry over and just the momentum's going to go around your body. It's going to create that long swing path. We're trying to get a shorter swing path, but a faster racket. So you can go up and do your loop, but the loop has to stay on the right side. You can go into whatever style loop you want. There's a lot of different ways to take it back here. That could be another video. But you're gonna go up and around, and then you're gonna drop that racket, drop it like it's hot, right here. You're gonna drop it here, and then pull it through. So it's like a combination of looping action, but then make sure the racket is coming down in this area, you know. One of the progressions you can do is you can actually start here, Sophia. So you can start a few here, try a few here, just starting here more or less. This is a good way to kind of go into this practice. You got it? And don't be too tight and just try to, you could bounce it a little and then like we were doing in the last drill and just make sure you're whipping it through. Don't be locked. The key is, guys, the key is to fight tension, fight locked joints when you're trying to get lag and the modern swings. You've got to fight tension. You've got to figure out ways you can swing fast without getting locked. All right, so try that. Be there and just see if you can relax everything and pull the racket through by using your legs and hips. Okay, not bad. So you were here. This is what you want to avoid. You were here, and then your racket made a little extra circle back here, which is not necessary. Just try to be here and just either bounce it once or twice, like we were doing before, or just be here and like totally still and no extra movement. No bonus loop. Don't do a bonus loop. Right? Ready? This is tough. Now, almost everyone does like a little bonus loop there. They're here waiting, the ball's coming and they go, oh yeah. So you want to be here and then just pull. Ready? Try it. You get in that space. Where would you say this is? This is probably, you know, 5 o'clock, between 5 and 6, and we're trying to get the racket to stay in this slot the whole swing. We don't want the racket to go beyond this slot. All right, ready? Are you ready? That's perfect. And then try not to do the bonus loop. Just go there, through. Okay, good. And if you notice, that movement is essentially tricep extension. I'm going here, and what is my elbow doing? This is elbow extension. You know, anatomically speaking, elbow extension, and as my elbow is extending, I pull. And if I keep everything relaxed, I can get lag, and the racket will flip down to get topspin. So it's like this, boom. That was pretty nice, but it looked a little more like circle around to 6. What I'm saying is circle and then boom, right there at 5, and not to go around to 6. But like if that was Sophia's forehand and she's making millions of dollars on tour, I wouldn't change it. But since you're young, you can strive for a little extra, you know, extra credit. Nice, nice. Okay, great job, great job. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed these 6 fave tips and drills for both the forehand and the backhand, the modern forehand and backhand. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and liking our channel. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys on the next program. If you like this video, please check out one of our other videos right here. Good job. That's one.